Yeah, I think to trying to learn how to close out a football game is not an easy lesson. It's I equate everything that we do to learn how to ride a bike. So you're going to fall off before you figure out how to get your balance and ride it. And so we fell off, and we find little things that become our momentous occasions that we can't get back on that bike for some reason. And going forward, we can't really wait for us to figure out how to close out a game for us to figure out how to close out a game. It comes from doing all the little things correctly and winning all the small battles that don't have anything to do with being on the football field. Whether it's as simple as cleaning the locker room or cleaning the bus, holding doors, doing well in class, going to class, all those little things. If we don't do those right, we're not going to be able to hold on to a 14-point lead against a good football team. So all of that's part of the process. It hurts. It hurts when you have that game in control, and then you slowly watch it slip away. But by the same token, those are games that we need to be in, that we need to be able to learn from to be able to grow as a football team.
What made that game probably the best effort that you guys have had this season on the field?
I think part of it was, coming into that game, there was already an innate belief that we could beat them. And unfortunately, that belief came because we beat them the year before, instead of just having self-confidence and believing in what we're doing and all of those things. So there was a different level of confidence all week. And then when we took the field, we did a lot of little things, and we're not trying to every series go out there and go 3 and out on defense. We just want to get off the field. So I thought our guys did a great job. Even if we gave up a big play and they got down to the 1-yard line, it was 1st and goal at the 1, and we were able to hold them to a field goal attempt. We created a lot of turnovers. All those little things factored into what we needed to do, and I think there was just, like I said, there was a belief going into it that they could do that, but it was all based on previous experience. So for us, we got to be able to build on that. We can't let, just because the game's close down to the wire, be what keeps us mentally into the game and motivationally into the game. But I will say, one of the hardest things to do as a defensive coach at the end of a football game when you're down by a score is to tell your guys, you have to create a takeaway here to give us a chance and for it to actually occur. And it was one of those special deals where we were able to create that fumble there at the end to give us a chance. Doesn't mean that it's going to pay off, but at least we still had a chance there at the end. And that's really all we can ask of our guys at this point.
Can you update the injury situation, Ben and Lane?
I think both those guys will be good to go this weekend. We've just got to get them through the week, and just kind of care for them gently and make sure that they're going to be in good shape. I mean, we've got 1 game left, and those 2 guys, as not being the biggest kids on our team, are probably the toughest kids with the biggest hearts, and they've both taken quite a pounding all season long, and they get back up and they keep going. And this was the first game where both those guys got pulled out of the game because they were hurting so bad. But I think by the time we get to game time on Saturday, they'll be in good shape and be able to get back through it.
How big of this game was it just for Lee Webb to get all those carries for his development?
I think it was, Lee Webb, it was crucial for him to have to be forced into a game like this where being the number 2 back behind Lane, and then Lane going down pretty early, forced Lee to have to be in there, have to play tired, have to play banged up, have to run the football effectively, have to hold on to the ball, have to be able to block, which was probably the most important thing on our pass protection. And there was no chance for him to feel like, well, I can go out here and I don't have to do this every single down. I mean, he had to do it every down, and I think that's a huge step in him for his maturity and his growth and continuing to build his toughness, especially as a running back in our league. If you want to be a premier back, you're going to be carrying the ball a ton, you're going to get a ton of reps, and you're going to have to be asked to do a lot of things, and it forced him into having to do that.
How do teams find success against Bemidji State's defense?
Well, you got to be able to weather the storm against their defense. They're pretty aggressive. They come at you from a lot of different directions. They change their coverages up quite a bit. They've got some ball hawks back on the defensive backfield. So they do a really good job. They're opportunistic. I know that Moorhead took advantage of them this last week and threw the ball over the top quite a bit and went vertical on them. I think their quarterback threw for 400-plus yards. I don't think that's in our game plan, but for us, we still need to be able to keep working to establish the run and be able to learn how to block the right way. Doesn't mean it's always going to pay off, but we got to be able to stay to it and just keep plugging away at it, and not be intimidated by their defense.
Would you consider having Levante work a little bit more vertical than you have? I know you try to give him a lot of touches, whether it's runners, quick hitters, but I mean, given that, would that be an expectation this week?
Yeah, he's our threat, overall. So, his big 56-yard touchdown pass, was up over the top. I think that was good. We got to be able to prove to defenses that we can take the top off of them, which then opens everything else up underneath. And he does a really good job of running short routes as well. He's our true speed guy that gives us that threat. And even if he's taking the top off and we throw to him and it's not complete, it still is enough to get a defense to be a little bit worried about it, to make sure you're vertically sound for it, and then that can open things up underneath, especially for more of our possession type receivers that we have.
Coaching back to St. Cloud for a second. At the end of the first half, a little over a minute to go, you got the ball on your 35 or 36-yard line. Was there a thought to kind of push it there, or what were you thinking?
You're going into that about a minute left. I think there was a minute 1 on the clock, and we got the ball back in pretty good field position at the 35. And we at that point we had all the momentum, and we hadn't done anything wrong. So everything we had done was right. We had a 7-point lead. And kind of going into that, we didn't want to put ourselves into a bad situation like we did the week before. Against Moorhead, we were backed up, and it was end of the half. We thought, let's see if we can do some high percentage pass plays, see if we can give ourselves some breathing room, see if we got a chance, and it backfired on us. So that loomed pretty heavy into the thought. Our first play, we wanted to run the ball just to see what St. Cloud was going to give us, to see maybe could we get a nice 5, 6, 7-yard run and maybe attack more of a prevent style defense, give us some breathing room. We know that Jose with the wind can kick it from some distance. So that first play was kind of our indicator of what we could do. We didn't get very many yards, and then on the second play, again we came up short. I think it was another 1-yard gain, but we got a penalty, so that moved us to midfield, but still didn't have a ton of time left on the clock. And so we had a couple pass plays drawn up or called that we were going to try to attack them with, and then when they came out, and they were in their true prevent defense at that point. So we didn't want to force anything. The last thing we wanted was to create a takeaway or a turnover that would give them any type of momentum going into the locker room, or God forbid a score right at the end, which was what happened at Mankato. So I think we've been burned enough right at the end of the first half, being ultra aggressive, and we had that momentum. We wanted to carry it into the locker room and then see if we could use that momentum to our advantage coming out in the first part of the third quarter, and that's exactly what we did. So I think it played really well. I think it's easy to say when you lose a game by 7. Would we like to go back to that series and be aggressive and see if we could hang one more back up on the board? But I wouldn't do that over again and do anything different. We had offensively, we had a total of 100 yards in the first half. So to think that we could slice them and dice them and get down the field is probably false hopes and dreams. So we just wanted to be smart and be able to really truly manage the football game at that point.
Well, last game of the year going down to Bemidji, anything change, plan-wise? Do you start peaking to next year a little bit? Do you make late game alterations, or do you have thought about that at all?
There's, for us, going into game 11 and not having won many games, we don't really, we don't have the benefit of saying, well, let's try to get some young guys some playing time, because we started doing that game 1. And so there's nobody left for us to empty off the bench. But I think for us, we'll keep doing what we do. I think we're going to be smart if we've got some young guys, and let's say if our quarterback or running back don't progress through the week well enough, then that will be a very important decision to make if we want to throw them back out there in game 11 if it's going to risk injury any more than where it's at. And so those are going to be kind of things we'll feel out. As of today, I think we'll be okay. But other than that, I don't think so, just because we've played so much youth, with 24 or 25 freshmen or whatever it is that we've played so far. They've all got their experience. I think just by the nature of how the season's gone here recently, I mean, we got a lot more young guys that have played. They're going to play more this last game, but not because it's the last game, but just because they've earned that opportunity now, and so we're going to make sure that they get those reps. But it isn't because it's the last game. So I think in the future, it'd be really nice to know going into that last game, hopefully it's a flip of our record, and then you can get some guys some quality experience towards an end of the game at the end of the season. But right now with 4 seniors, all those guys play anyways, and then with all of our freshmen and all those kids play, I mean, we're going to keep on going as we go.
How much do you have to kind of motivate these guys this week going into the fountain game season after having such kind of a rough year?
I think the biggest thing, because as close as we were on Saturday, I think the biggest thing is to make sure that we can get back up, after a heartbreaking loss. And, the good thing is if the game on Saturday against St. Cloud hurt them, it was painful to the heart, that means that we got the right kids. If that game didn't really hurt, then those aren't the kids that we want playing for us in the future anyways. And there was a lot of pain in that locker room after the game, and it was all on us. I mean, it wasn't nobody took that game from us. It was completely on us, on our mistakes. So can we do those little things better, to get ourselves motivated? We have no postseason accolades or concerns, so this is our last game. This is kind of like we went into the St. Cloud game last year. I mean, treat this like our bowl game. There's nothing left to hold on to and save. It's let's shoot all of our bullets and see what happens. And I think our guys will be motivated to do that. And it's another good football team. And we played the lesser teams early, and so it's just been kind of a slugfest all the way. And that always gets our guys a little bit more excited, is when they're playing against some of those better teams.